What's up, everyone? I'm Jay, and today we'll be looking at Artemis Fowl and judging it on a 5-star, 10-star, and 5,000 point scale. Let's get right into it. Artemis Fowl is a fantasy adventure movie released on Disney Plus in 2020. It's based on a book of the same name by Eowyn, that name, Colfer. And by based, I mean that some of the characters in the movie have the same names as some of the characters in the books. This movie follows Artemis Fowl II as he experiences the joys of being incredibly smart, learning that his father has been kidnapped, discovering a secret fairy society, messing with fairies that are working towards the same goal he is, declaring that he is a criminal mastermind, and sending a magical creature to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth to authorities instead of easily covering up what he has just done. Let's talk a little bit about expectations. There are two ways that we can judge a movie. We can judge entirely based on what is presented on screen, or we can draw from external sources. Movies that exist as their own entities, such as Big Hero 6 or the Lego Movie, are judged on the first standard. Things get a lot more tricky when we're talking about movies like Lord of the Rings, superhero movies, or Disney's many live-action remakes, where there's a pre-existing work and the movie has some expectations to meet. When this is the case, it's important to gauge how much the creators intend to cater to the original works. In the case of Disney's remakes, viewers make the assumption that they will be watching the same movie they saw before, just with real people. When it comes to Lord of the Rings, viewers might expect the characters and key events to be included, even if some of the stuff gets cut out, because who's gonna watch a 12-hour Lord of the Rings series? Well, maybe I would, but normal people are not gonna watch a 12-hour Lord of the Rings series. When it comes to superheroes, viewers just expect the characters to be the same as long as they're doing some generally heroic story, full of action and adventure. Now, when it comes to Artemis Fowl, the first thing we got was a teaser trailer. This trailer showed vague scenes that offered peeks into scenes that the audience remembers reading so vividly that we knew exactly what they were. So we were expecting a movie that had a plot extremely similar to the plot of the books. Artemis Fowl, young mastermind with a missing father and sickly mother, uses his wits to steal gold from the fairy world. What we got was an innocent Artemis who was on a quest to save his secret vigilante good guy father from a shadowy villain. The movie was so different from any reasonable expectations that it just wasn't enjoyable at all, at least for me. Maybe you would enjoy this movie if you weren't at all familiar with Artemis Fowl. I don't know, because I'm not. I give 100 points for watch value. Well, if the movie had almost no watch value, then how can it have rewatch value? Actually, I believe that there's one scenario in which you would want to watch this movie again. Hear me out. I suggest watching this movie with as many friends as you can find and all trash talking it at once during the movie. I give 200 points for rewatch value. Okay, so I actually have converted some books into screenplays, just as a hobby of mine. In fact, I began turning Artemis Fowl into a screenplay after the disappointment that was this movie, and I cannot for the life of me figure out why they changed the movie so much from the book. There's even a deleted scene that's very similar to the source material. They had what they needed. Why didn't they use it? And the plot that they created isn't even that good. If you want more information on what might have happened, then I suggest you watch this video. It's by a channel called Nando V Movies. I watched this video and I think it brings up some interesting points. I give 0 points for writing and plot. The actors in this movie are one of the only good parts about it. They did a really good job of casting people who look and feel like the characters from the book, except Juliet, but I'll talk about that later. And for what it's worth, the actors give solid and convincing performances. I give them 500 points. In the books, the fairy world is filled with super small and advanced technology. It's not hard to do technology like that through digital effects nowadays, but it still looks really good. I think that the LEP recon suits look great, and even the fancy changing weapons look cool. The trolls also look really good, although I'm not really sure why the troll has dreadlocks. I give 500 points for effects and set. Now for the scores. We've got 1.3 out of 5 or 2.6 out of 10, depending on your preference, and the movie scored 1,300 points. Now I have a bit more that I want to say about this movie, but I get that some people aren't into that, so to some of you, until next time. For For the rest of you, I want to spend some time pointing out stuff that was so out there that I just can't understand why it's there at all. If you agree, disagree, or I forgot something that you didn't understand, please let me know. First of all, Artemis's characterization. What drew many people to the books was the attitude of this suave young boy. He was brilliant and a bad guy. I know his character changes by the end of the series, but his primary motivation in the first book is just to get money. The books describe that he has pale skin from never going outside and always wears a suit. He doesn't need to be strong, and that's why the character of Butler is there. However, the first scene that the movie shows of him is one where he's surfing. It seems like they prioritized him being cool and intriguing rather than the Artemis Fowl that everyone wanted. And this only really happens with Artemis. All of the other characters are great. Butler's actor is great at his role, so is Holly, and so is Mulch. We don't need the characters to look exactly right, we just need them to be them. There are some characters that don't make sense though. For example, Juliet. The movies change her from Butler's young teenage sister who likes wrestling to a kind niece with curly hair. Also, I don't get why they made Mulch big. There's plenty of other small dwarves in the movie, and that would just make him stand out, especially when his primary characteristic is stealing things. The new plot that replaces the old one in this movie isn't even that great. It's filled with plot holes. For example, why does Mulch have to narrate to a guard the entire story when they're trying to keep the fairy world secret? We seriously couldn't just have Mulch talking to himself or something? He seems like the kind of guy who would talk to himself. Why is Obo Cowboy a hooded figure instead of a beautiful pixie lady? None of it really makes sense, especially if they planned on making more of these movies, which now they probably won't because this one bombed. Until next time, enjoy entertainment and judge it fairly. This has been Just J Review.